Well, it's an eye-popping contract, $4.5 billion. And an Oklahoma pipeline company is more than happy to be part of a project that will provide an economic and environmental boost to our state and region. Jason Doyle joins us now with the details on a big deal for Big Elk. Jason.
That's right, Rich. Big Elk is an oil and natural gas services company in Tulsa, which is taking its strengths and helping build one of the largest infrastructure projects to take on carbon emissions in a way that hasn't been done before.
What you're seeing is just one step in the process of creating more than 2,000 miles of pipeline and pumps for a carbon sequestration project which will stretch through the upper Midwest to deposit carbon dioxide underground. Big Elk Energy Services in Tulsa was recently announced as the manufacturer for this major environmental infrastructure project. Jeff Hager is the founder and CEO of Big Elk. His company has been picked by Summit Carbon Solutions, based in Iowa, to supply the pipeline and pumps necessary for this project, which uses current technology found in the oil patch.
What's nice is the equipment that we've been building for years for traditional natural gas pipeline is the same type of equipment now being used for the purpose of capturing and sequestering carbon emissions.
And let's face it, this is something that's not really happened before. This is the largest infrastructure project in 50 years, frankly, in the U.S. and frankly, the globe.
The multi-billion-dollar project starts with capturing carbon dioxide emitted by ethanol plants in Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota.
It's just simply what we're doing is we're grabbing the carbon stream off of the ethanol industry. We have 32 ethanol partner plants that are actually emitting carbon into the atmosphere today.
We're then taking that CO2, we're compressing it, we're going to dehydrate it, clean it, inject it into a pipeline system over 2,000 miles, all designed, built, and operated by Summit. We're going to transport that CO2 in a dense phase, making it an efficient way to transport it. It's kind of a gaseous liquid state.
Once it's put into the pipeline, the carbon will then move to a facility in North Dakota.
We believe at 12 million tons, that takes about 2.6 million automobiles off of the road and their carbon emissions.
Summit CEO believes the partnership his company and Big Elk are building has room to grow.
And we truly appreciate the opportunity to partner with Big Elk, signing a $12 million contract and more business possibly to come.
That $12 million is being put to good use by Big Elk to benefit Oklahoma workers and suppliers.
So we will be hiring, I would say, no less than 40 to 50 people just over the next couple of months. And if the trend continues, possibly a lot more than that. We use a variety of trade disciplines throughout the manufacturing process. And so we're buying raw material in the form of raw pipe, flanges, fittings, valves, structural steel, that sort of thing.
While the future looks bright for Big Elk right now, that wasn't always the case. The pandemic significantly slowed down business for the company. COVID-19 struck soon after Inc. magazine named Big Elk one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S.
And honestly, we thought, man, the sky's the limit for us at that point. And what we didn't know was less than a year and a half later, we would be going into the pandemic time period and the worst economic conditions that we'd ever seen. Our market dropped by 2/3 almost overnight.
During the partnership announcement, Hager reflected on the struggle to keep the company running during the pandemic.
It is so exciting when you look out and you finally see the border of the promised land. When you see milk and honey and you think we don't have to just live on scraps and things start to improve a little bit.
The analogy I always give people is the difference between manna and the promised land. Both are miracles, but they're different kinds of miracles. Manna is a miracle when bread falls from the sky, but the thing is, manna is only good for a day. It's just enough to sustain you for a day, and that's what we experienced during the pandemic, was multiple times when we should have died.
Hager projects that soon other industries will want to follow the model of carbon sequestration that Summit and Big Elk are creating.
And it's just the beginning. There's already a host of companies looking to sign up to do this in a second phase. So we'll see this continue for several years. And it's not just ethanol production. I completely expect that after we get through with this phase of the project, that we will move to other similar industries that have carbon emissions.
One shouldn't be surprised that an Oklahoma oil and natural gas services company is working on an environmental issue. In fact, Oklahoma has been leading the way, ensuring captured carbon stays in the ground and is not released back into the atmosphere.
Most people don't know this, but Oklahoma was one of the first states to certify and have a state agency that could certify carbon sequestration across the nation.
The legislature gave the go-ahead to the program a few years ago as carbon credits began to be used by companies to offset their carbon footprint.
The reason that the Oklahoma legislature did that is because they wanted to protect both buyers and sellers of carbon credits in Oklahoma to ensure that carbon sequestered in Oklahoma was really being sequestered in Oklahoma.
There are several ways that carbon dioxide can be kept out of the atmosphere.
The Conservation Commission has rules that are approved by the state legislature that allow us to verify carbon that's been sequestered through forestry practices, through no-till farming, as well as through grassland management. So these are ways that landowners all across the state could participate in the carbon program.
While the carbon sequestration project will keep Big Elk busy, you won't find Hager resting on his laurels.
As we sit here today, for us, 2023, if we wanted, we could say that it's booked. We could say we've got well over a year's worth of backlog, and we could be content with that. We're not. We're going to add people and add capacity so that we can continue taking on new business.
Summit Carbon Solutions expects construction on the pipeline system will begin next summer with the first CO2 injected underground sometime in the latter half of 2024.